Welcome to Retire Smart Austin. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Phil Capriotti Sr. of Empower Wealth and Tax. And to our viewers at home, we have a jam-packed show for you today. We're talking a lot about tax planning, but also talking about a new book that came out by Ed Slott. We're going to have some really great information about how you can plan for taxes in your retirement as well. Phil, how are you?
I'm wonderful. It's so good to see you again. And, you know, we don't normally, pitch a book, so to speak.
We don't.
Ed Slott, America's IRA expert, whole different issue, though. And it's kind of funny because one of our cameramen and producer, he pretty much does everything, Greg.
He does.
I mean, he is everything.
He's fantastic.
You know? And he's like, he comes in, he grabs the book, and he turns to the back, the index, and he's thumbing through it, and he's like, by golly, there's at least 100 shows in the back of this book.
And it was a by golly moment.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So Cynthia and I decided that that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yes.
We're going to play. We're going to play spin the index, and we're going to go into the index, spin up some of the pages,
yes,
and pick some additional Ed Slott topics to talk about. Most of you know that for the last 18 years, I am a Ed Slott Master Elite IRA advisor. I recommend all advisors to take the ongoing continuing education. You do have to recertify twice a year, but that's part of the fun of knowing what you're talking about and understanding all new changes in IRAs, RMDs, tax code, and so forth. So if you truly want to hold yourself up as a tax advisor, especially a distribution specialist, tax advisor in retirement, work with an Ed Slott advisor. Better than and as good as that, get the book, stay current, read the newsletters, and you'll stay current on all these new rules and regulations. You know, a couple weeks ago, we talked about all the benefits of having a Roth.
Yes.
And we did that show, and you said, oh my gosh, I had no idea that you could take money out for medical expenses, you know, prior to retirement. You could take money out for education.
It's fantastic.
You could take money out for many different. Yeah, and again, I wouldn't have known it had I not been staying current with my certifications and have chose to become an Ed Slott advisor almost 20 years ago now. But at any rate, today we were talking about some questions that folks are very concerned with respect to retirement questions in 2025, right?
There are top questions for 2025 when it comes to retirement planning is what we were talking about, Phil. And one of the things that people are really concerned about right now would be legacy planning. They've worked their entire life, amassed a huge wealth, if you will, that nest egg. They want to make sure they can effectively pass it down to future generations to come. I know that you help a lot of high net worth clients in Austin and the surrounding areas. Talk to me a little bit about the legacy planning piece.
One of the concerns that many folks have with legacy planning is not outliving the money or allowing for continuing wealth for generations to come.
Okay.
One of the concerns I see is appointing one of their children to distribute the assets. You know, I have 5 children. I've been blessed, and I thank God every day for that. And I am in the business. The last thing I want upon my demise and my wife's passing is for my children to have a disagreement about the distribution of the assets, especially specific to what our directives were.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the things, if you want to, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the things when it comes to legacy planning is hire a fiduciary, your fiduciary, I recommend, to actually distribute the assets to the children according to your wishes. Do not leave it to the smartest, the brightest child to do it. Don't put your child in that position. Many times, what mom said to one child might be something different to what another child said to the dad. So my point is, for the small, very, very nominal expense, what you want to do is, if we're going to look at legacy planning, hire your fiduciary to actually distribute the assets according to your will, your trust, and so forth. Many times we'll need multiple different trusts when it comes to legacy planning. Many times we'll need a separate trust for the grandchildren than the actual children. We may be concerned of a spendthrift child, so we'd want to implement a spendthrift trust with that. In other words, we're concerned with unexpected beneficiaries. My daughter, who might be single, God forbid, I pass, leave her a boatload of unspent wealth, and a charmer, alarmer comes along and wants to basically drain her assets.
Right.
I've seen this happen before,
Sure.
many, many decades ago. So we want to protect our kids, okay? No matter how smart, no matter how bright, no matter how hands-on your children are, allow them to work with the fiduciary so they're not in the middle. There's nothing worse, and it's happened in my wife's family, nothing worse than having a significant estate to settle, and there is hard feelings from one sibling to another on you got this and I was supposed to get that type of thing.
Absolutely.
So this is one of the concerns that most folks don't have until we bring it up.
Yeah.
And then they think about it and they say, that's a valid concern.
Absolutely.
All right, so have a plan together. One of the other things, and it's off topic, is to allow for inflation in your retirement. Cynthia, I can't begin to tell you how many folks say they want to spend $100,000 a year. Well, they're looking at 5 years from now still spending the $100,000. They're not indexing their spending, after-tax spending, for inflation.
Wow, and you have to do that.
You have to do that because if you don't, you're reducing the purchasing power of your retirement assets. So
Absolutely.
Not just taxes. It's easy to account for taxes, especially with all the laws that Congress has given us to help us with Roth conversions and things of that nature. But we want to index for inflation. Make sure that you do that. We talked about it last week, altering your investment strategy.
Yes.
One of the things I like to do is I may have a piece of the portfolio ultra conservative, what I would consider ultra conservative. May not have bonds, but it may have bond alternatives. It may have a combination of gold, silver, precious metals, things of that nature.
Okay.
Then I may have 10 or 15 or even 20% super aggressive. Super aggressive.
Okay.
It may hold Bitcoin, Coinbase, alternative assets that some folks have never even heard before. But we know through our research and our analysis that these are up-and-coming technologies. We're looking for the new Google. We're looking for the new Amazon, that type of thing.
Absolutely.
What's it going to be? What's going to be the latest and greatest 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So speculate a little bit. But we don't want to tie it up in the entire portfolio. So don't forget, account for inflation and account for alternative investment strategies.
And I like how you mentioned you have that mixed bag of nuts, if you will. You have your conservative sector, you have the more high-risk sector, and then you probably have something that would be more moderate, like right in the middle. And that way, if you know that your basic needs are being met, you can afford to be a little risky in other areas, correct, Phil?
One of the products that we use, and I'm a big believer, I can't mention the name of the company. I will tell you that the insurance company will not allow you to work for them or sell their products unless you are a fiduciary, a registered investment advisor, or you sell investments as well. And it's an insurance product. But what they allow us to do is a safe place to do Roth conversions, and then over a 5-year period, because if we take money and put it into an asset, and I'm going to refer specifically, I have a client, all their money is in a 401k. When they retire, they have no pension.
Okay.
They're not sure about their Social Security strategy. They're working with us with respect to that. I'll say, I have an idea. Let's put, say, how much income do you want? You want $60,000 a year to start? You want it to increase each year by an average of 3 to 5%? Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we put $500,000 in this specific fixed indexed annuity? The company allows us to grow without caps on the growth, but they allow us to do internal Roth conversions each year.
Wow.
So we can do internal Roth conversions for the next 5 years. And once that 500,000, let's use that number, is fully converted, then we can turn increasing joint life income for you and your spouse. And with automatic increases. Now, remember, if we wait for the 5 years and we do these internal conversions, once a Roth, always a Roth, even when that annuity has no more death benefit in it, it'll continue to pay increasing tax-free income up to age 120.
Wow.
So this is a way where we can put X amount aside, designated as a Roth conversion, not worry about any fees or market volatility, put a Roth conversion plan, then turn the income on with maximizing the Social Security, and let this thing grow according to, number one, inflation and growth in the market. So folks love it. We've been doing it for the last, we actually started doing it about 12 years ago. Now that takes the pressure off of the client. I maximize my Social Security. I have 60, 70 grand coming in from this insurance product. Now with my other investments, I can get a little more aggressive. Why? Because I've already laid the foundation and the framework for a comprehensive, tax-efficient retirement income plan.
Wow. Phil, I'm going to stop you right there. To our viewers at home, we know that you're leaning in right now and you're saying to yourself, I have never heard this type of strategy before. How do I take advantage of it? Well, you want to book a complimentary consultation with Phil and his team. Call in to 888-818-6557. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years. You deserve to have a tax-efficient retirement plan. If you're curious to see what your current tax obligation would be, visit empowertaxbill.com. That's empowertaxbill.com. Put some basic information in about yourself. You're going to receive a report that will tell you what your current tax is structured looks like, and then to make a plan to actually make it better for your retirement. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. I'm talking fast to save time. 888-818-6557. We'll be right back momentarily.
One of the secondary reasons I got into the tax business is my very first job. It was an usher at a movie theater. So back in my day, since I'm a baby boomer, people would come, we would tear their ticket, and we would walk them down, seat them, and then come back. So up until that point, I was getting $5 a week for allowance, and I'm telling you, I was like an indentured servant. My brother was allergic to grass and pollen, so I had to do all the lawn work. I had to do all of the work, as a matter of fact. So I get my first check. I get 37 and a half hours. I'm making $2.10 an hour. This check's going to be close to $80. I look at the check and I get sticker shock. $41.78. I'm good at math. That's not adding up. So I go over to the manager. He says, oh, Phil, he says, flip the check around. Federal income tax, state income tax, FICA tax, all of these different taxes. So that was my first lesson at 15 about how important paying taxes are. And by the way, I think that anyone that has paid taxes every year for 50 years, by the time they're 75, they should be tax-free. I don't care where they put their money. That's my belief. I believe we've done our fair share.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Austin. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Phil Capriotti Sr. of Empower Wealth and Tax, and we're talking all about having a tax-efficient retirement plan. Phil, this is so very important, and obviously we can't talk about it enough. Planning properly for your retirement years, but factoring in a very comprehensive tax strategy. One thing that we talked about in the break was planning for spousal support. Talk a little bit about that, if you will.
I'm going to tell you that, and we have the numbers with the thousands of folks that we've had in the office since 2005. When I started this company, we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary, which we're very proud of.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say 15 out of 100 individuals plan for their spousal income upon them predeceasing their spouse.
15 out of 100.
15%.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm being generous. They are, and it's strictly not lack of knowledge. It's not something that is readily discussed when they're talking with their advisors. It's not something that is discussed when talking with their spouse. I bring it up front and center. It's a proven fact that 98% of all survivor checks from Social Security, 9 out of every 100, are received by women.
Wow.
That's 98 out of 100.
Wow.
And this is also according to the 2022 actuarial risk and processes. This was published in 2022. These women go on to live an average of 14 additional years after the death of their husbands.
Wow, 14 additional years.
So think about this.
That has to be planned for.
So I mean, but it hasn't been, or in many cases.
Right, right.
So 98 out of 100 survivor benefit checks from Social Security go to women, and they live for an average of 14 years. An average.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's there's a dichotomy there that's hard to believe.
Well, and even longer, because I'm thinking a lot of people that are in their second marriages, let's just say their spouse could be considerably younger than them. You see that quite a bit.
Yes.
So we have to talk about that. Even that time frame could expand even more. So that's a lot that someone has to process.
There's a lot. So when it comes to proper retirement planning, I need to not only plan for my spouse, and when a gentleman says there will be plenty left over, she'll be fine, I stop it right there. And again, now I love people, but I especially love women. I was raised that way, and it's just the way it is. So for all of you husbands out there that don't properly plan for your spouse, and I'm talking about a written plan, you ought to pick up the phone. Don't leave it to your wife. Pick up the phone, dial 888-818-6557, or click that QR code. It's extremely important that you not only make sure that the Social Security is tax-free for your surviving spouse, okay, but we want to make sure that her long-term care is taken care of, home health care is taken care of, income is taken care of. And we want to make sure, in my professional opinion, that the government doesn't get the lion's share of this upon the second death. So not properly planning for us predeceasing our spouses, making sure our surviving spouse has a tax-efficient retirement plan is something extremely, in my opinion, overlooked, but extremely important.
It absolutely is so important, so crucial.
We talked about planning your documents, okay?
Yeah.
How many of you, ladies and gentlemen out there, have not had your will reviewed in the last 5 years? How about 10 years? How many of you folks have moved in from other states and haven't gone through a checklist to see if your powers of attorney, if your medical directives, all of these things are set into place? These are all things that need to be done, and they need to be done and reviewed on a yearly basis and not left to chance. So with that being said, when you come into our office, one of the services we wanted to offer all of our clients is a 360-degree approach to handling all retirement needs. Whether it be Social Security, whether it be RMD distribution, whether it be your wills, your trust, whether it be your tax return, whether it be Roth conversions, whether it be tactical asset management. We come in, when you come in, we do it all. We have our licensed professionals here to help you. 724, all you need to do, click the QR code, go to empowertaxbill.com, hit the fast track button, and why don't you come on in and let's have a candid conversation. There's no obligation. Don't forget to get your
book.
Don't forget to get your Ed Slot book.
Yes.
Right. The retirement savings time bomb's still ticking.
Louder.
And by the way, next week, we're going to use the index to pick our next shows.
That's going to be
fun. In fact,
fun.
what we're going to do for the next 6 shows, we're going to pick another topic in Ed Slott's book.
Fantastic.
We want to show you everything that it is that you need to plan for, and not just the topics that we talk about each and every week, but some of these things that we haven't prepared for or haven't spoken about. So dial 888-818-6557. Click the QR code. Come on in and visit with us. You know, I've had folks ask me, where's your office?
I love that.
What they come to.
I'm going to come just so I can meet everyone, Phil. Thank you. To the viewers at home, I don't have an office there at Phil's, but I would love that. I'd love to meet all of you. The number to call is 888-818-6557. We know you have a lot of questions for Phil about how to plan your perfect retirement, having a tax strategy that works for you and that works for your loved ones. We're taking a very short commercial break, but please call in 888-818-6557. We'll be right back momentarily with so much more.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Austin. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Phil Capriotti Sr. of Empower Wealth and Tax, and we're talking all about building your very own tax strategic retirement plan. I love this, Phil. I know a lot of talks that you do and just meetings one-on-ones with clients, if you will. Roth conversion, that has to be coming up a lot because a lot of people are questioning, do I benefit from a Roth conversion? Should I be getting a Roth conversion? Talk to us a little bit about the Roth conversion.
There's so many different reasons to implement a Roth conversion policy and strategy. As we talked about on the last segment, preparing for my wife in the event that I predecease my spouse, planning for her tax-efficient retirement. See, we've talked about it before, but I believe it needs mentioning again. It's important to have a standalone Roth that your wife inherits as well. I'm also going to tell you it's extremely important if you were a high wage earner to not just maximize your Social Security, but we mentioned this in a couple of previous shows. Do not have your spouse file early on her work record, like 62, 63, because it will significantly reduce her survivor benefit from Social Security. This is a topic I haven't even talked about until I've started noticing this. Wait a second, we're missing something here. Don't always say, maximize my husband's Social Security, and then I'll take a little bit at 62, 63. Number one, it's going to be taxable, but depending on the year that you file, the lower wage earner files, you can cut your survivor benefit by 25%, 20%, 15%. Now, I want to get 100% of that survivor's benefit, but I want to make sure my wife has Roth assets to draw on so none of her Social Security will be taxable. Remember, folks, when you lose a spouse, if you're married and filing joint, you're in the best tax bracket you're ever going to be in. It is the best.
Absolutely. When
we lose a spouse, you immediately revert to the worst tax bracket.
Yeah. Single.
Filing is a single filer.
Yeah.
I think, the current administration should take that into account.
Absolutely.
And possibly pass a bill that eliminates that.
Absolutely.
Something that says if we've been married for 10 years, if I predecease my wife, she still gets the claiming strategy of a married file and joint.
Makes sense.
Okay, I mean, it really does make sense.
Yes.
I don't know why the current switch, but I know one thing: if you haven't prepared a tax-efficient retirement income plan, these are things you're not thinking of. If you're a current financial advisor, and I'll go out on a limb and say your CPA, if you have one, is not talking with you about survivor tax planning, tax-efficient retirement income planning, they need to be. Give us a call. Dial 888. Come on into the office. I'd love to visit with you. We have close to a half a dozen advisors. You know, we opened up the Horseshoe Bay office. It's taken off.
Fantastic.
It's taken off. We're open full time every single day now,
Wow.
Monday through Friday. We have the new Georgetown office opening up 30 days.
Wow.
In 30 days.
Fantastic.
We're looking for a spot in Lakeway now as well. So the point that I'm making is we're opening up these additional offices to make it convenient for you to take advantage of our expertise, no matter where you live. So click the QR code, go on to empowertaxbill.com, or give us a call, better yet. Tell the operator you've been listening to us for years. Tell them you just moved here. And some of the information that we discussed with respect to tax planning interests you. Come on into the office. Let's do a Morningstar report on your portfolio, and let's help structure your tax-efficient retirement income plan. Not while you're both just alive, not just then, but after the demise of the first spouse.
Absolutely. And Phil, I should also ask you, for those at home that perhaps can't get to an office for whatever reason, are you still doing any Zoom consultations for that first?
We do.
Okay.
We do Zoom consultations. Let me explain something. You need to have skin in the game, folks. And that skin in the game means we need a little bit of your time. If you're disabled and have a reason you can't come into the office, we understand that. However, if you don't want to come in to visit with us, apprehensive about that, you don't want to have skin in the game, what's the point?
Phil, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is 888-818-6557. We know that you have a lot of questions for Phil and his team about how to build your strategic retirement plan, being tax efficient. That number, 888-818-6557. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed. We look forward to seeing you back here 1 week from today on Retire Smart Austin with Phil Capriotti Sr. Take care.
Thanks, Cynthia.